This episode is brought to you by Iams Pet Food. When you choose Iams dry dog or cat food, you can see a difference in your pet with your own eyes. Healthy energy in 5 days, healthy digestion in 10 days, and healthy skin and coat in just 25 days. Satisfaction for you and them. Guaranteed or your money back. Feed Iams dry dog or cat food and see a visible difference. Visit iams.com/difference to learn more.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast here to tell you about Michelob Ultra Courtside. It's getting fans closer to the NBA with a chance to win prizes like courtside seats, a trip to All-Star Weekend, and much more. Check it out at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access, Courtside 24-25 sweepstakes, no purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 and up. Begins on October 1st, 2024, ends July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
70,000 people are here, and Bob Dylan is the reason for it.
Inspired by their true story.
If anyone is going to hold your attention on a stage, you have to kind of be a freak.
Are you a freak?
Hope so.
And starring Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan. He defied everyone.
Turn it down!
Play loud!
To change everything.
Make some noise, BD.
Timothée Chalamet, Edward Norton, Elle Fanning, Monica Barbaro. A complete unknown. Only in theaters Christmas Day. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent.
Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of Keep Watch Pass on the It's Not That Bad podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. And happy holidays to all of you. We are taking a look back at the movies of 2024, and we're going to play a little game of Keep Watch Pass. And here to join me for this retroactive look at the year that was, my lovely wife, Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing?
I am doing great. What a year it has been, hasn't it?
It's been an interesting year. I mean, we're coming off a year that was interrupted by the writers and the actors strike. So now you were getting films that were maybe initially earmarked for 2023 and then got pushed back, or were kind of pushed into later production, then had to be released later into the year. So it's an interesting year. Like 2023 was, it was good. Obviously, we had our Barbenheimer moment. But 2024 was one of those years where it's like you had a little good, you had a little bad, you had a little in between. But it was still good to get back to, another year of being back in the theaters. And I know, ticket sales are down and box offices aren't quite what they were. I speak from a personal standpoint. I love the theater. I love going to the theater. Obviously it's kind of hard to go as much as you would like to because it is expensive, especially when you have, kids and they all want to have the popcorn and, it gets costly, but I still love going to the movies.
Oh, I absolutely agree. But I found that in retrospect, like looking back over the past year, there wasn't a whole lot that happened. There wasn't anything super stand-outish. I mean, there were a few things. I'm going to talk about them later, but yeah, it was just kind of like, and I'm not sure if that's because of the writer's strike, because of the kind of like the overrun. Maybe everything was pushed out right away, that it kind of left nothing for this past year, but there wasn't much that stood out. There wasn't much that stood up and said and commanded attention this past year.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, and maybe it's just me, but I find that it's one of those things where it felt like there weren't many tent poles that were there for us. There was one, maybe two tentpole films, but it's like, do we have those big theater moments this year? No, I think 2025 is looking a lot better. I think there's going to be a lot of good movies that come out to the theaters next year, but that's for another episode of Keep Watch Pass. I do want to point out, and I'm sorry I forgot to take a look at what your picks were. I took a look back at our looking ahead episode of movies for 2024 that we did at this time last year. And it was really interesting to see that my keep, my watch, and my pass pick from our movies we were looking forward to in 2024, none of them made my list for this year's look back for Keep Watch Pass. It's fascinating. It's really, really interesting to see that and go, I was way off.
No, it's interesting because I'm actually looking back at our tickets purchased for the past year.
Mm-hmm.
And if it weren't for the Harry Potter run in the theaters,
Which that was so much fun. Seeing the entire 8-film run of Harry Potter back in theaters, that was an adventure.
it was exactly how I should have seen them in the first place. But I jumped on the Hogwarts Express a little bit late. I was late to get my invitation or my acceptance letter to Hogwarts.
Well, clearly Hagrid's GPS wasn't working.
So, no, like, I'm honestly scrolling back over the year that was.
And it's a little hard, right?
It's harsh, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I know there are movies out there that were like intriguing to us, and it's hard to get out to movies sometimes. But let me explain. Rather than us diatribe here as to going through our list and saying what we did or didn't say, here's what we're going to do, dear listeners. We're going to go through the movies of 2024 that we saw, not necessarily just ones that came out, but movies that we specifically went to go see, and pick 3 each. A keep, a watch, and a pass. The keep is one that we were so happy that we went to go see. The watch is one that, hey, you know what? It was worth the popcorn. And the pass is one that maybe we should have just stayed at home and not crawled out of the covers. Carrie, I'm going to start with you. What was your keep film from movies that we saw in 2024?
Well, my keep was definitely the best marketed, the most hype surrounding, the most anticipated. Like, I looked forward to this movie for the past year,
Madam
if
Web?
not longer. No. But Mr. Deadpool and Mr. Wolverine. I loved this movie. I was waiting for it. I was so excited, had the tickets purchased, was counting down to, we saw it rather early. I can't say we saw it on opening night.
No.
But as soon as we got the chance.
We were in the theaters, yeah. And I'm so glad that I stayed away from social media as much as possible, because this wasn't one of those situations like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness where we had that Captain Carter, Captain Marvel scene spoil before we even got to the theaters. Here, I was pleasantly surprised by all the little things that popped up. And now we have Channing Tatum as the most memeable thing of 2024. Ooh, I'm about to make a name for myself here. But it's
Love that.
Love that. Absolutely. Because that's the thing. He tried so hard to make that Gambit movie happen, and it never did.
But maybe it will. Do you think this might be?
Well, 2024 was the freaking year of Gambit. Let's be honest here. Aside from Channing Tatum finally getting to do a live action Gambit, X-Men 97, holy fork balls. The fact that Gambit had, and I'm sorry if you have not watched X-Men 97 yet, but it's been out long enough. Gambit had the most heroic death scene in any single superhero property, period. Better than I am Iron Man. No. Gambit. The best ever superhero death scene that ever happened on screen. That episode was such a good, and you're sitting there, you watch like, oh, okay, cool. It's kind of melodrama and holy, what the happened? Whoa, what the just happened? Like, you took a series that was kind of swimming in the nostalgia pool and then said, okay, you feel good? You feel safe? You. We're going to turn everything upside down. X-Men 97 should be nominated for an Emmy for writing. The series was so good. And I think the reaction to Gambit this year, both in animated and live action form, does bode well for a future Gambit. And even in the X-Men Origins Wolverine, say what you will about that film, and I talked about that film enough on this show, but Gambit wasn't that bad in that one either. So, yeah. And I had Deadpool and Wolverine as my keep film in movies I was looking forward to in 2024, but it's not my keep film here.
Fascinating.
'Twas the nights before Christmas. Despite last-minute stress, few were delivering except Walmart Express.
Stockings were hung by the fire with care, knowing in about an hour stuffers would soon be there.
On to the road, Walmart Express delivery went. Shot full of wondrous things in the St. Nick of time sent. Let's go!
Get express delivery in as fast as an hour, even on Christmas Eve. Orders must be placed by 4 p.m. local time on 12/24. Subject to availability. Fees and restrictions apply.
Express delivery to y'all and to all a good night. Welcome to your Walmart.
Looking for a pickup truck to get just about anything done? Look no further. The Chevy Silverado EV isn't just the most powerful Silverado ever, with next-level towing capability and technology. It also offers game-changing versatility with the available multi-flex midgate and tailgate, which means Silverado EV helps you carry large, bulky, and oddly shaped items up to nearly 11 feet in length. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Visit Chevrolet.com to learn more.
This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, and I'll say it again over and over and over and over and over. If I want to see robots fight robots, I don't want humans getting in the way. So when Transformers 1 rolled out onto screens, I was so pleasantly surprised by this film. Because when I saw the trailer, I'm like, oh, they're going to be Jokey McJokersons with my Transformers. I mean, I was going to watch it anyways because it's Transformers and I freaking love Transformers. But I was worried. I wasn't expecting this to be as good as it was. And holy crap, like, revitalized the Transformers franchise from a movie standpoint. Obviously, the pinnacle is the original Transformers, the movie. That's never going to be beaten. It's going to be real hard to be beaten. Then you had the opening scene from Bumblebee on Cybertron. And it felt like I was watching a on big screen version of the War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron video games. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then there's this. They finally get that we don't give a damn anymore about Spike, Sparkplug Wiki. I don't care. I want to see the robots. I want to see my Transformers go to war. And if they keep going down this road, the next Transformers animated film is going to be freaking awesome. That said, the Transformers next live action film is going to be that Transformers G.I. Joe crossover. And I'm hoping it's going to be good, because if you've been reading the Image Comics Energon Universe comic books. They're building this really big, massive world, and it's playing out. It's definitely playing the long game. And if they pull any of that into a live action film, count me the F in, because that will just pull in not just the nostalgia money, but the action adventure money and the big tentpole IP kind of film that 2025 needs. But even if, and I think they're on a good track here, even if you go down one path with the live action G.I. Joe Transformers crossovers, and you go down the other path of like the history of the War of Cybertron animated films, you've got two very good avenues for the franchise. I think Transformers, from a movie standpoint, finally is on the right path. And we just need to get a TV series that works into that. I would love to see an animated Transformers, G.I. Joe, Hasbro Universe animated series that isn't necessarily aimed at kids, right? Transformers Earthspark is fine for kids. I want a real, like, with the weight and the rating of an X-Men 97. Transformers has the property that you can do that with, and the Netflix anime series treated it very well. That series gave me exactly what I want. I want more of that. I want a lot of things on my TV and on my big screens. I'd like to say I don't ask for much, but this podcast has been on for 3 years and I've been asking for a lot and I haven't gotten none of it. Maybe someone can make that happen. I know you're going to disagree with me on my watch pick because I know how you were when we left the theater. But my watch pick is still Civil War. And I was really looking forward to this film because I found the premise was really interesting. And then when we got into the film, they didn't take a lot of time to make it a political ideology piece. They didn't sit there and try to blame the left or the right. It was just like, this is the world that's right now. These are the people that are trying to do their job in this world. And it just painted a slow, grim picture of what a world like that could be like. I found it almost a brutally realistic type of film because you could see this reasonably happy. Say what you will, joke all you want about Texas and California making a coalition, but it's stark and raw. Kirsten Dunst was fantastic in it, in a very not Kirsten Dunst role. Like that right there is acting kudos 101 right there for Kirsten Dunst. And I know you weren't the biggest fan of this film, though.
It's not that I wasn't a big fan of the film. I agree that the film was very well done, very well shot, but it was very hard to watch because of the stark reality of it. And I just don't like watching the things that make me cry. And it was a little too raw for me.
Alex Garland did do a really good job in directing this. Maybe too good for you. I don't know. But it's one of those things. I think this is going to be one of those very divisive films because it's one of those things where people are going to sit there and look at it and either be amazed at the reality of the world or they're going to be shocked at the reality of the world. And I don't think there's any middle ground with a film like Civil War. All right, over to you, your watch pick.
Well, on that note, I'm going to take my pack of purple crayons and draw pretty pictures and make things happy. I am absolutely watching every chance I get the wonderful world of Harold and the purple crayon and his group of friends with the porcupine. And oh my God, the actress that played the porcupine, holy moly, she was so good.
Tanya Reynolds.
She was absolutely perfect. Moose, like as Harold's, best buddy and kind of Like he was the comic relief. He was so much fun. And come on, Shazam. He was so wonderful.
Yeah, Zach Levi was really, really good.
He makes me smile.
And
He's
almost perfectly childlike. Like coming off of Shazam, he kind of did bring that Shazam energy because that's kind of what you needed for this. I mean, I always love Zooey Deschanel too. Like she's so much fun to watch. But yeah, Tanya Reynolds as Porcupine was pitch perfect for this film. I don't understand why this film gets the hate that it does. Because when I tell you that Harold and the Purple Crayon actually qualifies for the podcast, you're going to be surprised when you hear the number. Now,
in the 20s.
The popcorn meter, okay, maybe you're not surprised. The popcorn meter sits at 91%.
Right.
The tomatometer is at 28%.
28 is actually higher. I thought it would be hovering around like a 21. That's harsh. That's harsh. Because it is such a fantastic and fantastical movie.
Yeah. Whenever you have like around like a 10% difference between the critics and the audience, whichever way that difference goes, you sit there and say, okay, I can probably see why you would look at it this way and the critic would look at it this way kind of thing. But when you have a difference of, and let me do the math here, 63% difference between critics and audience, there's absolutely no reason whatsoever why there should be a 63% difference between critics and audience. It doesn't matter which way it goes. It does not matter. I don't understand when critics look at a film like this and go, ew, no.
You know what I loved about this movie, though, is that it allowed for the space for the books that we read and the imaginatory world that we create in our mind.
Yeah.
It gives it that reality or that realism. It brings our imagination to life. And I so absolutely loved that concept. I thought it was so well done. And not just the Harold and the Purple Crayon and those characters coming to life, but the writer at the end that created this like medieval mystical world, and then he eventually gets caught up in it. Like, I absolutely loved it. I loved everything about this movie. I thought it was fun and fairy tale, and it was everything.
This literally was a children's storybook brought to life, and I think it did it fantastically. I think the audience is definitely right, and the critics are definitely wrong on this one. And I'm sure somewhere down the road, we will be covering this film in depth on an episode of It's Not That Bad. Because really, I mean, this one's going to be like shooting fish in a barrel because it really is not that bad. All right. 2024 did serve up some stinkers. What's your pass film?
Well, I can quite easily pass on any of the 3 Terrifier movies. And I can't say that I've seen them, but there is enough hype surrounding and enough stories of people having physical symptoms from watching these movies, and I want no part of it. I can't even believe that there are 3 movies in. I mean, maybe they're fine. I don't know. It's just maybe not my thing. And as a result, I am maintaining that I'm passing. I'm 3 movies in, passing on the Terrifier franchise. Sorry, Art.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't think lately we've had a horror franchise that has kind of captured horror movie imagination quite like the Terrifier series has done recently. Like it's been a long time since we've had like a good horror movie slasher character.
Except for Mickey.
No. We're not talking about that now. We are not talking about that. We're coming back to that one on Grading on a Curve, but we're not talking about that one ever again.
I love my Mickey.
But I mean, here's the thing.
Oh, Mickey, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Hey, Mickey.
Obviously, the days of the 80s and slasher flicks are well behind us. Like the days of Freddy and Jason and Michael Myers and Pinhead. Like there was a stretch where we had arguably a Mount Rushmore of serial killers on the screen. And then it kind of died for a bit. And you had like more, different kinds of horror films like The Ring and The Grudge and very, taken from Japanese culture type films. And then all of a sudden, in 2016, Terrifier comes out and it captures the imagination a little bit. And then Terrifier 2 comes out and all of a sudden you realize that, wait a second, people are now cosplaying as Art the Clown at Comic-Cons. And now 3 movies in, and don't worry, I'm never going to have to make you watch any of these films because none of them qualify.
Well, I think it's a darker genre because when you think about like the Saw movies, I mean, how many Saw movies are there? Hostel?
Yeah.
Like it became almost a...
Well, Hostel came and went pretty quick, right? But I mean, yeah, no, there are more Saw movies than it feels like there are Fast and the Furious movies, and that's an obscene level of Fast and the Furious. But the key thing with Terrifier is that Art the Clown gives us a very iconic looking serial killer, and maybe the most iconic looking serial killer on screen since Ghostface from Scream. That might be the key thing here, is that what makes a good horror movie slasher is someone who is a little bit creepy, a little bit funny, an iconic look that people can cosplay as. Art the Clown kind of checks off every single aspect of what makes a good horror character.
Well, I think it really plays too on some people's like just fear of clowns, right? Like,
right?
Or the whole concept of the clown, laughing on the outside and crying on the inside.
Yeah.
Very much Joker clown kind of ideal, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. All I can say is, even leaving any sort of convention, comic convention, and seeing someone still dressed
as Art the Clown on the highway on the way home, and he's staring at the other cars. This actually happened, and you can tell he was having fun. But you know what? Part of that is, can you have a little bit of fun with the character yourself? And I think Terrifier has brought back to the screen what was missing from 80s horror films, but I also appreciate that it's not your bag. I get that. My past film, and I joked about Madam Web earlier, but it's not Madam Web. My past film is actually Borderlands.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
Here's the thing, and maybe this is based on expectations going into it. Sony hasn't exactly had the greatest success at bringing Spider-Verse characters to the screen. And I'm not saying the Madam Web wasn't an absolute convoluted mess of a film, but my expectations were low going in because it was a Sony Spider-Verse film, and I remember Morbius. Borderlands, however, when it came out, I was like, it's a new property based on a video game. It's got Cate Blanchett and Jamie Lee Curtis, and it looks like it's a ton of fun.
I wanted it to be funnier.
Yeah.
It wasn't funny.
Here's the problem. When Kevin Hart is the best actor in your film, you are not doing this well. This is not a good thing. Borderlands was boring. It was boring. It's formulaic. It was not exciting, not fun. The jokes, the best jokes were in the trailer. I didn't need to see the film. Like, people are going to crap on Madam Web and have crapped on Madam Web all year. But films like Borderlands probably looked at Madam Web and said, here, hold my beer. Because of this, I don't know. If you would ask me when it came out, if Madam Web was going to, in 2025, win worst movie of the year, I'd be like, psh, there's no way anything else is going to beat Madam Web for that. I'm not so sure now. I'm not so sure if Madam Web, it's going to get nominated. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely going to get nominated. I don't know if it's going to win. Because I think people went into Madam Web with an idea of what to expect. Borderlands was supposed to be better. And it wasn't. This was supposed to give us the best of the Guardians of the Galaxy outside of the Marvel Universe. And it didn't. I'm disappointed in Borderlands. And every kid ever will always tell you, if your parents say they're mad at you, it's whatever. If your parents say they're disappointed in you, you done f***ed up. Borderlands, I'm disappointed in you. All right, Carrie, before we go, please remind our listeners what your keep, watch, and pass picks are from movies that we watched, or didn't watch in your case, in 2024.
My keep I watched was Deadpool and Wolverine. Actually, I've watched many times by now.
Well, life is a mystery.
My watch was Harold and the Purple Crayon, of which I think I've watched actually 3 times.
At least.
And saw in the theater. So it has my ticket dollars. And it does not have my ticket dollars is Art the Clown.
In Terrifier 3.
I have not seen any of the Terrifier movies, nor do I intend on seeing Terrifier 3.
All right, and for me, my keep is Transformers 1, my watch is Civil War, and my pass, very disappointing, Borderlands. Carrie, thank you for this. And dear listeners, we want to know what your keep, watch, and pass picks were for movies in 2024. Be sure to hit us up on social media at NotThatBadCast or go to our website at NotThatBadCast.com. Drop us a line. I want to hear what movies you kept, you watched, and you passed on. Until next time, she's Carrie, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is Keep, Watch, Pass on the It's Not That Bad podcast channel, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.